Now, Ralph Waldo Emerson, right, once remarked that, in quotes, democracy became a government of bullies. Now, he was a famous writer in the past. All right. Now, it says an interesting contrast in the understanding of democracy can be found comparing the U.S. War Department's 1928 training manual number 2025, of which we just covered. It utilized for citizenship training for servicemen with what followed several years later. It says the 1928 document correctly defined democracy as, in quote, a government of the masses, authority derived through mass meeting or any other form of direct expression. It results in mobocracy. Attitude towards property is communistic, negating property rights. Attitude of law is that the will of the majority should regulate, whether it be based upon deliberation or governed by passion, prejudice, and impulse, without restraint or regard to consequences. It results in demagogism, license, agitation, discontent, and anarchy. Now, again, we just covered the booklet, right? We just proved that that booklet is authentic, it's real. Now, this is the part we was talking about.
Hold on. Let me back up right quick. Now, this is man, it just came to me. This is how they going, because you saw how democracy doesn't mention elections.
Right.
You know, so it's just like a group of people that can whoop everybody's ass and say, I think we should do it like this. You know what? I agree. Let's do it like this. And then they just call everybody around. We're going to do it like this. Okay, fine. Let's do it like this. And then they just move forward and everybody start doing what they say do. But those who dissent against that suffer. So, and my point was that the republic form of government has elections, people to represent, to put laws together. You know what I'm saying? So what they're doing over time, they're really about to define democracy. They're gonna redefine democracy. And what and that intertwine of democracy and Republican form of government, minus your right and freedom to dissent, is how they really, no, they're redefining the republic and they're calling it democracy, and they're taking all of the bad things in democracy and slipping it into republic. I mean, it's beautiful what they're doing.
That entire side represents mobocracy. That's what they do.
Yeah, it's definitely the mob. Yeah.
And to me, obviously, they stole the election.
But the gravest threat to our democracy right now does not come from any foreign capital. It comes from our own. The gravest threat to democracy in America is President Donald Trump.
Folks, we got a lot of work to do. I don't need you to get me elected. I need you once I'm elected.
Now, hell yeah, I believe it, right? I do believe it. I believe that they stole the election. But what can be proven must be proven, right? So whether they stole it or not, at this point, don't mean anything if you can't prove it beyond reasonable doubt. That's the point.
Yeah.
You know,
because everyone gave, in my opinion, Trump an opportunity. When he first started talking about stolen election, things of that nature, I know many 70-something million people was waiting to see evidence.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Whether that evidence was suppressed or wasn't, but I think he has at that time, the largest following through his Twitter account. So he really didn't need the courts or lawyers to support his claim. All he needed was evidence. So
Now,
huh?
Now, I mean, cut you off. I was going to say what he had was evidence, but it wasn't strong enough. You know what I'm saying? And we would have to really break that down for the people, because again, it got to be proven beyond reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
And it's still some doubt that existed from what was presented, and I can understand where the doubt was coming from.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, Rodney?
Right.
You know?
So my point where I was getting at, that had he had the right evidence, he didn't need a court. He could have just put it on Twitter.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If he had concrete, sure evidence that his claims exist, whether they existed or not, you need to prove. And I think he would have had more of that 70 million on his side than he did, because whenever they gave him weeks or days to bring the evidence in court, and he was unable to get beyond 12B6 for whatever reason, and I read some of the lawsuits, and I read the affidavits. Some, I didn't read all of them, but I read enough to where they were consistent in what they were saying, but they didn't have the proof. An affidavit is not evidence.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You have to show up and put that affidavit into reality.
That's the basically what you're saying is what I was trying to relay. Some people don't understand that. Like, actually, I think we should do a upcoming broadcast on that, so we can kind of like really show people exactly what we mean, because I don't think most people understand what evidence is, and it has to be beyond reasonable doubt. you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to really prove what you're saying. It's an uphill battle. I mean, honestly, it's a battle that I wouldn't want to be in. It's an uphill battle. We already know how to go, Rodney. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
So but he may have had evidence that was ignored, but I think if he'd have had hardcore evidence, he could have put it out there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If he had like hardcore, like proof beyond a reasonable doubt, to where the people could make the courts listen.
Right.
He didn't have the evidence. He just had enough evidence to get those who wanted to participate in January 6th.
Right.
In addition to what whoever else was mixed in with those who were upset.
I agree.
It wasn't enough evidence to move more people in that direction.
That's true.
I think it was 70 million people that was ready, but you got to bring the evidence.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? He didn't have enough evidence to move 70 million. He just had enough evidence to move those who didn't have nothing else to do.
You got to bring the Kraken. You know. Yeah. But no, I wanted to go ahead and finish this, because I wanted to hit home on what we was talking about in that last. A matter of fact, in the document from the congressional record from the Senate that authenticates Training Manual 2025. Now, right here, it says by 1932. Progressive pressure, right? Now, whenever they talk about progressive or progressive pressure, that is Democrats. Democrats consider themselves, example would be Woodrow Wilson or President Woodrow Wilson. He was considered to be a progressive Democrat, right? So progressive pressure against this definition led by Senator Homer Bone, a Democrat from Washington. Now, y'all see that, right? Now, again, we stated that it was a senator because obviously it had to be a senator because it was in the congressional record of the Senate, right? So it was Senator Homer Bone, a Democrat, right, that caused it to be withdrawn and repudiated. Since the early 20th century, many have falsely touted democracy as the epitome of good government. Why? What influences continue to support this view? So you had some people in our government, some politicians that really believe that democracy, mobocracy, which translates and turns into socialism and then communism, they actually believe that this is a good form of government, right? But it's not the type of government we have. That is not the government that we have here in America. Now, again, right here, now it says communist revolutionary Karl Marx is the in the Communist Manifesto stated, in quotes, the first step in the revolution by the working class is to raise the proletariat to the position of ruling class. Now that would be the working class to the position of the ruling class to win the battle of democracy. Now, Karl Marx, right, that wrote the Communist Manifesto, is saying that it's a battle to win democracy. He's acknowledging that democracy is a part of communism, is the point I'm trying to raise. Now, it says, for what purpose? To abolish private property, wrest by degrees capital from the bourgeois, right? That would be your middle class, and centralize all instruments of production in the hands of the state. So they want the state, right? Communists want the state, which would be the federal government. It would be the government to control all instruments of production. That would mean all industries. Now, another champion of democracy was communist Mao Tse-tung. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. He wrote, in quote, taken as a whole, the Chinese revolutionary movement led by the Communist Party, right, of which we're dealing with today, embraces the two stages. That would be the democratic and the socialistic revolution, right? So they have two stages, a democratic and a socialist revolution, which are essential, right? Essential. It says which are essential or essentially different revolutionary processes. The second process can be carried through only after the first has been completed. So democracy has to be completed first before you can even reach socialism. This is what is being said. He says the democratic revolution is the necessary preparation for the socialist revolution, and the socialist revolution is the inevitable sequel to the democratic revolution, right? The ultimate aim for which all communists strive is to bring about a socialist and communist society. So in other words, democracy, which is mobocracy, right?
The world will again witness the resilience and strength of our democracy.
The president rightly making claims that Hillary Clinton and the DNC were colluding with Russians to disorient our democracy.
What is at stake in all of this is nothing less than our democracy.
But the gravest threat to our democracy right now does not come from any foreign capital. It comes from our own. The gravest threat to democracy in America is President Donald Trump.
Leads to socialism, and socialism leads to communism. This is what's being said.
Yeah, kind of unpack that a little bit, because democracy being mobocracy, that means a majority rule.
Right.
So that goes back to the example of Genghis Khan. If you follow his track, he started small, or the Roman Empire, they started small, they conquered their home, then they moved broadly across the land, and they just dominated and got laws. That's the mobocracy. So within the mobocracy, they saying that it leads to socialism, because in the mob gonna mob up, and then those who dissent against the mob won't benefit from their commerce. So therefore they're gonna need help or assistance, right, or benefits or welfare.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So that's the socialists. Whenever they say, okay, well, we done mobbed up, won the war, because it says the battle for democracy, they won the war, and then once the war is won, then those who dissent and those who at the top who won, those who at the bottom of the mob gonna become just as important as those who dissented, meaning that right, they're not gonna care nothing about the mob that got them in power, because once they get that power, you see that many people suffer. So therefore, if you suffer, that means you're gonna need assistance. So that's where the socialists come in. They're gonna socialize you, say, we're gonna give you something, because we know you twisted right now, so we're gonna help you out. Benefits, because we know it's rough out here, we're gonna give you some stimulus.
Right.
So from that giving you the stimulus, over time, it's gonna say, okay, well, we didn't get enough stimulus, everything is ours, and we're gonna distribute everything equally. That's the communist part. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So the communist,
well stated.
So that's the communist, when the mob runs the show, bully everything out, and then those who are not at the top of that mob need to be social. Yep. You know what I'm saying? They need help, and then once they're tired of helping them from feeding them, then they just construct a system to where, because right now when they're helping them, they're helping you keep the property that you're losing. You know what I'm saying? So once you lose those private property rights, they're gonna help you out for a minute. Then they convert that socialism into, okay, well, we just own your property because you can no longer afford it, but we're gonna let you stay here, but you work for us. You know what I'm saying? Everything is, we got you. You know what I'm saying? That's that big brother. We got you covered, but you know what I'm saying? But don't worry about anything. We're gonna make sure you eat, and sleep, and that's it. No royalties from the fruits of your labor.
Exactly.
So that's the breakdown of those words with all those lists, common lists, they need to be breaking down in the reality. So
I agree.
Reality of what they're talking about.
And Rodney, I'm like this. I'm not allowing anybody to steal my labor, i.e. my energy, because that's all communism is, man. Somebody else stealing your labor, your energy. You know what I'm saying?
Now, I also want to state that I know people, like, as we travel through life or whatever, that sometimes things are good, sometimes things are bad. So people may need assistance in life. You know, so I'm not saying
agreed.
Hard times fall upon you that, okay, well, you just out of luck, pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Although I believe in pull yourself up by the bootstraps, but I also believe you need some boots. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you can't pull yourself up by the bootstraps without boots.
Right.
So even though you may need to pull yourself up by the bootstraps, we need to make sure that you know how to have your own boots to even pull up and to understand what it means to pull yourself up.
I agree. Now, to finish this up, it says, we ask you to look closely at today's practitioners of democracy and mobocracy in our country. Look beyond their mindless slogans to the groups that support them. Their real aim is to foment hate and class warfare, discredit our institutions, and ultimately destroy our republic. The republic is ours to lose. Can we keep it? It's up to you. And I must give much love and respect to Colleen Britton. I think she did an awesome job in this publication, and much respect to her, right? And the Solano County Republican Party. You know.
Yeah, that was hot right there. That was like, it's a lot to unpack if you don't understand. That's why I was trying to break down. You were trying to break down little statements or words to as they could, again, we try to give you a layman point of view. So sometimes words or phrases or stories or just like this article, it could be difficult to really understand because you're just hearing a bunch of words, but what do these words really mean in real time? So that's what we do here. We try to break legally, because it's really much legalese. You try to break this legalese down in layman terms, but give proof to as you can support what we're saying in layman terms.
Well, that goes back to the training manual. The training manual talks about how we have a duty as American citizens for us to know our government, for us to protect our republic, etc. You know what I'm saying, Rodney? So we encourage all of our listeners, all of you all that are listening to us, again, to review these videos often and frequently, right? And once we start doing live shows, of which we will do soon, please call in. You know what I mean? Zoom in and let's discuss these things. It's the only way for us to maintain and save our republic from becoming a communist regime. You know what I'm saying? It's the only way.
It's already close to being communist because because they control the population. Our population haven't grown for 300 million in decades.
Right.
So it's slowly but surely implemented. Then we have to understand, they have to be clear that book, the manual in 1928, was written in those days. What the manual is expressing was more so taught in school, taught at home. You know what I'm saying? Our homes and our educational systems has been derailed. It's not for the benefit of our people, for the people. If not, there would be no need to do these videos. You know what I'm saying?
Agreed.
So it's telling you that you have a duty to know, and people leave it there, but I'm taking it a little further, saying that the system has been corrupted to a point where the miseducation has created a dumbed down, educated society.
Agreed.
You know what I'm saying? So that's to say that there are people with PhDs behind their name who don't really know what's going on. They only know what they was taught by the system.
Yep.
So,
and we just showed that earlier with the professor. You know what I'm saying?
exactly. So what Keith does with these videos, he does the research. So the research against the system that educated us. So you have a system that educate a person with a PhD, but yet they can't deal with the same set of facts that we research. You know, so we research facts from the same Library of Congress. It's just that the certain laws or rules or articles or manuals that we receive, they don't teach in school because it will free and emancipate us from what we're suffering from today. And that's the unintelligent, the uninformed, the miseducated, and all of the consequences behind what I just said.
Agreed.